Welcome to the Relocation Rundown, everybody. I'm Aaron,
I'm Geoff.
and we're the Aaron and Geoff team, your New York City real estate experts.
Excited to have Tori with us today, talking about the Massachusetts town of Gloucester. Gloucester. Is
We literally just went over how to pronounce it.
that wrong? Tori, can you help us out here?
Gloucester.
Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, where you practice real estate, and where you live?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Tori Flavin. I work with the Amanda Armstrong Group at Compass. And I am born and raised in Gloucester. So, well, I was born in Boston, but raised in Gloucester most of my life. And we service the whole Cape Ann and North Shore, so north of Boston. And it's basically everything along the coast. Gloucester is a little island 45 minutes north of Boston. So there's one way in and one way out over a nice big green bridge. But everyone, absolutely everyone who lives here loves the town. People vacation, get second homes here from Boston, and it's one of those things that people like. We're townies. We don't leave. I've tried to leave. I can't leave. I always come back. And now I can't leave because my whole business
No, I
is
can't
here.
leave.
So where else am I supposed to go?
Is Gloucester like the vacation town for Boston, or is it like a suburb of Boston?
So it's like a vacation town in Boston. So you have Boston and then you have North Shore, South Shore. People, there's a whole rivalry of North Shore versus South Shore. So like Cape versus the North. And we all obviously prefer the North Shore. But that's kind of, if you're in Boston, you're either picking North Shore or South Shore and you're going one way or the other. So there's a few towns up here. Cape Ann is an entirety. It's mostly like the vacation homes. And obviously there's full-time residents as well. But they're all more lively in the summer when you have, the beach and all the shops are open and everything like that. In the winter, it's obviously mostly locals and it kind of shuts down and there's only a few places open and you get to kind of enjoy it a little bit more. We call September actually is the right after Labor Day is local summer because it's still nice enough out, but we don't have to worry about all the tourists being around all the time.
That sounds very much like the Hamptons for New York City in a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like for Massachusetts, you kind of go either around us in Gloucester or Rockport and then down to the Cape if you want that sort of Hamptons feel.
Yeah. So how far is Gloucester from Boston? Do like people commute there for work? Like what's
Yeah.
what's that?
Yeah, so people can commute. I used to commute actually. I used to work at Coldwell Banker in Cambridge and I used to
Oh, no.
commute into Boston. That was before I actually got into real estate. Well, I was in real estate, but I was doing like more of the marketing aspect then. So that's how I realized I wanted to actually be a real estate agent rather than just doing, admin and social media stuff. So the commute into
Relatable.
Boston is
Yeah.
about.
We did the same.
Really? That's so
Yeah.
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
was
I
an
spent a
admin for
year.
a team and he did marketing.
How funny. I was like a mix of the 2 for like a team of 4 people, and I decided, I was like, "You know what? I wanna do this full time," and a spot opened up on the team I'm currently on, and I was like, "I'm going for it. I'm going back home full time instead of having to commute." The commute was also just getting a little too much for me, at least. I don't really like a commute unless I'm going to
Tell
see
us
a
about that
property.
commute. Are
Yeah.
we talking public transit or are you sitting in traffic?
So traffic, so if you drive in, it's about an hour, could be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on what time you're going in and then what part of Boston you're going to. And then if you take the train's about, but if either it's like a no traffic time, you can get in and out of the city in like 45 minutes. It's like when you go to the airport. I'll do airport runs for my friends all the time because I'm like, oh, that's an easy drive, in and out. And then if you take the train, there's a commuter rail in Gloucester, and that is, I wanna say that's probably about an hour. So not too shabby, and it stops at all the places, from Gloucester, Rockport, Beverly, basically our whole market up the North Shore up into Boston. So,
What's the big draw for people to live in Gloucester if they're working in Boston or like an
the
area like
beach.
that? The beach.
So we have like 3 really, well, we have more than 3 beaches, but 2 are very well known, Wingershik and Good Harbor. Like if you're from Gloucester and you're talking to anyone, they're like, "Oh, have you like Good Harbor or Wingershik?" And I'm like, "Of course I do. I grew up on them." but that's like kind of the big draw there. The sand is so soft. The ocean is like some days very blue, some days not so much. But it's yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. The beaches are gorgeous here. I think that's the big draw is that you're right on the ocean. So we have a lot of oceanfront homes that we obviously sell. And then the more towny stuff where it's the, you know, the regular downtown type of home.
What was it like to grow up there, and how has it changed since you were a kid?
Small and clicky. So I grew up here from I always say I grew up here, but in reality, I grew up here since I think I was in 2nd grade. So it was an easy time to blend in and move into the community and make friends and such. It's growing up here is, I mean, everyone knows everyone. You know, you don't turn a corner, you don't go into Market Basket and don't see whether it's your friend or your cousin or your brother's cousin's sister's mother, you know? There's
Yeah.
always someone around every corner, but small town, it can be clicky, but every once, like, you're here, like, everyone welcomes you with open arms. It's just something you have to get used to at first is that, okay, everyone knows everyone's business. You can't do anything without someone finding out.
What do you love most about living there?
My boat and the
What kind of
easy
boat do you have?
access to it. We have a 23-foot maritime center console, and
Or do you guys
it's
fish?
my boyfriend does, yes. I do not. I sit on the boat, well, I mean, I sort of do. I should say I
Sit on
sort
the
of do.
boat.
I sit on the boat, I tan, and I like to catch the mackerel because they're easy to catch. Stripers are way out of my realm. I'm not strong enough for that, quite frankly, but
How are the winters? Because I would imagine like a Boston winter seems in my mind to be a little more harsh than our New York winters. And I would think that it's maybe worse being north of the city and being on this like island-esque place.
yeah, yeah. So it's they can be worse. We actually a lot of the times you'll see west of Boston and like Western Mass get a lot more snow than we do. It's just it depends where the storm's hitting. We, you know, we get lots of snow, but it's more of like the no, I wouldn't say hurricane, you know, but like those winds and stuff coming off the ocean is what hits us
That's what I
worse.
was thinking too. It's the same way out in the Hamptons, right? That wind off the ocean is very cold.
Yeah, and you actually in real estate wise, when you're looking at insurance, you're looking at not necessarily flood and like stuff to do with the water, you're looking at the winds. The winds are what the insurance like that's what makes your rate go up around here more than the ocean itself and the proximity to the ocean, which is kind of crazy.
That's a great segue for us into one of the things we ask every pod of the agents who we're talking to is what is it about your market that would be surprising to somebody who has not done a real estate transaction in that market? And I think every episode we give the example that in New York, we're an attorney state. You need an attorney on both sides of the transaction. There's no option about it in the way we do our business. What's the way it works for you guys? What's unique about the way you do real estate?
So we're also an attorney state. So I feel you on that. It confuses me when people don't have attorneys. I'm like, how do you manage? Because I love my attorney connections. I love my attorney friends. They're basically like close friends and family at this point.
Oh yeah.
They save my life all the time.
Hmm.
But I mean, I would say I don't know exactly what would pinpoint it in terms of what's surprising about real estate in terms of like the transaction portion. I mean, it's all normal to me, so I don't know what stands out. That attorney thing is usually my kind of thing is like, "Oh, we're an attorney state. Are you an attorney state?" But I mean, I know a lot of like the whole like escrow and deposit thing that everyone, you know, how I think it's in like California, we're an escrow. Like, I don't know about you guys, but we're just like offer accepted contingent under agreement. Like, I've never heard escrow other than on like selling sunset when they ring the bell, right?
So, yeah.
I mean, like, we get the escrow at the point of contract,
Yeah,
right?
but, like,
Like,
we never talk about
Right.
it again.
yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
contract
There's no,
deposit.
like we don't, like, do an escrow period, like, it's not called that.
Yeah, and there isn't
Right.
like any
Exactly.
reliability during the offer
We're,
negotiation
like, opening
stage.
up escrow, closing escrow, like, I
Yeah,
don't know what that
it's
means.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're the same way. You get your 2 deposits, you get your first and your P&S deposit, and that, you know, that's your escrow there. I think one thing that might be surprising in terms of just real estate here, maybe not transaction-wise, is that we actually have low taxes in comparison to a lot of the like, I mean, Gloucester itself, I'm speaking in terms of our whole market is the North Shore, so there's definitely more towns that have higher tax rates. But I'm surprised by our taxes. Obviously, we're no like New Hampshire or something like that, but for being an oceanside
No New
town,
Hampshire.
we're no New Hampshire. You know that well, we have a lot of people from Mass who moved to New Hampshire, taxes, man, but we don't go I mean, I think our tax rate is like 9.72 or something like that, which I don't think is that bad. I mean, comparison to like 11.27 down the street somewhere, and a few towns over. So I think that's a
Let's
little
talk a little bit about
inflated.
pricing in that regard. So, what are your average price points and what is the inventory type that we're dealing with? So, the other thing we talk about in New York is we're co ops, right? Co ops are what we're dealing with, and they're very New York. I'm assuming that you're not a vertical market, you're mostly single family homes.
Yes, yeah. So we're single families and condos, and then obviously throw some multis in there here and there. Not a crazy bit of those, but yeah, just 99% single family and condos. So it's the price point factor of it. It ranges, obviously size, waterfront, everything like that. So we go all over the market. I've sold $200,000 rundown, single family shack. And then at the same time, we have like an $8 million listing in Nahant, and we have, right estate on the water. And then, everywhere in between. I'd say the average price point for like a solid single family home in Gloucester would be around 1 million,
Okay.
not on the water. Obviously, that then you start getting to the twos and threes, and upward
Naturally.
and beyond naturally, exactly. But somewhere between that 800 to a million is now like that kind of, which is for at least, a lot of my generation and my friends, it's like, how did we get here? This was
Yeah,
like
it's nuts.
I mean, we have these conversations
500,000.
Yeah.
and everybody it's like most markets, right? Like it's not even just like New York City is unaffordable, it's everywhere. But the good news is that in time we're all going to have a nice transfer of wealth.
That's a nice way to say all of our parents are gonna die and we're gonna inherit money.
Listen,
That's
uh,
well, that's how it is around here now. It's actually kind of crazy. No one's like people like my age can't like afford to buy, or they can, but like it's really expensive. Like a mortgage, it's costing them like for a $700,000 house somewhere around like 4,200 a month. It's like they're like this is crazy. So they are either inheriting grandparents or parents' homes, or I've seen four people do this so far in my town is that they take their parents' house and renovate it and then add an addition or like an ADU, or even just build out like a bottom floor for their parents. So they're taking over their parents' houses and buying them from them and then making them like an in-law suite inside of it so that they have a house that can house them and their kids.
Yeah.
thanks mom and dad, you've been demoted.
Yeah, literally.
You've been demoted to grandma and grandpa.
You go to the
You've been
basement.
demoted, yeah. Have fun in the basement, right? You grow imagine that. It's
Now I
literally
hope my
the
in-laws don't listen to
turnaround.
this. Oh God. So, we often want to frame this as a relocation kind of a concept,
Conversation.
right? So if you have somebody who is thinking of, moving away from wherever it is they are now and where they've been to your area, what are the main like things bringing relocations to you?
Summer homes, of course, but full rehomes is people who COVID kinda set it off. People who were living in Boston and they were working from home, and then they decided I'm working from home now. Why do I need to be in the city? I'd much rather, be able to go for a walk and it's nature because we have certain parts that are oceany and certain parts that are more woodsy. So like I'd rather go on, a nature walk, or I'd rather go for a walk around the ocean. So I think that pulled a lot of people in. And now I feel like it's people who have had homes here growing up, or their parents did, or, whatever. They always visited when they were younger, have decided all right, I've lived my life in Boston, I've worked in Boston. Now I'm in the flexibility stage that I can either, move away, or I can change like what I'm doing and choose to buy a home here because they loved it so much. So we see a lot of that where people decide that, okay, kind of like that suburban thing where you go from city to suburban living, and we see that a lot in terms of why people decide to come here. And then outside of Boston, I guess, I think people who visit, quite frankly, are family. I've had clients move here from Maryland because their daughters opened up a dentist practice here and they wanted to be closer to their family and their grandchildren. So it's definitely a mix of why people would come here in terms of like what stage of their life they're at, or are they retiring? People like to retire here as well as a lot of people here like to retire in Florida and escape the
Mm,
winters.
of course.
Is there something that like a favorite restaurant or a thing to do that if we were coming to Gloucester for a couple of days, you're like, "Oh, you have to do this."
Yeah, what do the locals do?
Absolutely. So, there's the touristy things to do, which we still as locals like to do sometimes. And then there's the like, okay, here's the best weekend planned in Gloucester, start to finish. So there's tons of local restaurants here that are great. And like even just going into Rockport for a day is like nice, especially in the summer because it has just as vibrant downtown, but it's more of like small artisan shops and galleries rather than here. You have some of those, but you're more looking at more restaurants and stuff. They only have two restaurants in Rockport and Gloucester. I couldn't count, We have a different option every night if we want to go somewhere. So, I mean, I think my top recommendations would definitely be Tono. Where else do we go? Goodness, now you have me thinking of it and I can't think of it. Tono is one of our top. Franklin is one of our top restaurants that we love to go to here as well. Um,
And is it all seafood or, like, is there, like, some
no,
kind of
there's definitely a mix. Blue Collar Lobster is another good one. So that's Blue Collar Lobster, also known as the Gloucester House. So in the summer, it's Blue Collar Lobster, and in the winter, it's called Gloucester House. But it was originally known as the Gloucester House. And then they kind of they added a little outdoor space that is
okay,
more
I
like
got it.
pick and go fried
Yeah, yeah.
food, burgers, things like that, and then the actual Gloucester House is more fine dining, and then now it's gone, and now it's a pub. So they did a whole renovation there. That's a whole 'nother story. Um, but yeah, so you have I mean, there's seafood in every single restaurant. You're not gonna get away from it here, and a lot of it's locally caught, whether that's locally caught tuna or striper cod or, anything like that. Haddock, like, the haddock is really great here too, and I'm not a huge fish person, believe it or not, but I enjoy tuna and haddock, like, those are the 2 I'll eat, and I know how fresh they are. They're literally, like, coming off the boats and hitting the restaurant here. It's craziness, and then, of course, you have all the fried food places, the fried foods there too as well, and the scallops are great, but never mind on the food, I could go on days about food, but I think majority speaking, you have seafood and then you have kind of fine dining Italian food. We're riddled with Italians in the
Okay.
best way possible. Should I say that? I'm like riddled with Italians as if it's
I was
bad. It's
almost
a good thing.
offended.
No, I mean it in a really good way. So we actually it's called St. Peter's Fiesta every year, and it's in the summer. It's the last week of June. I don't know if you've heard about it ever before, but it has the greasy pole. So
Greasy pole.
Oh,
it's
that's the
called
one where they run on it.
Yes, it's a
Yes,
telephone
I've seen
pole
that.
out in the middle of the ocean that they load up with grease and all the like it's all well, there's one woman who walks it, but it's all men and it's all been passed down sort of from like generation to generation. So like it's an Italian obviously tradition.
Yeah.
And they,
There's like a
so and
flag
so's
on the end they try to
there's a
grab or
flag on
something.
the end. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I've
You just see
seen
So
it.
this on
I've seen it
TikTok,
on TikTok.
of
It's
oh my
course.
god, if you
hysterical.
haven't, Google it. It's the funniest thing to watch. But it is like the sense of community here. I think and that's what gets people is you come here, you realize that sense of community and you're like, this is amazing. Like I love these people. Everyone is always supporting everyone no matter what they do. And then Fiesta is like a free for all where it brings everyone together that like you wouldn't even believe. The whole town is out and then obviously tourists from everywhere come into play as well. But it's a carnival and, a very, there's the religious aspect to it. And then there's like the greasy pole and the same boat races, which is the fun aspect to it. And it's a whole weekend. And I don't even think anyone knows what day it is until it's Monday. And they're like, oh, here, we made it.
Back to work.
Yeah.
Is it more like a slow pace field town, or does it have that like northeastern sort of energy to it that I feel like a lot of big cities have up here? Like, or is it very like a laid back, sort of slow moving sort of town? Or do you
Sort
guys
of.
have like
I
an
would
energy?
say an in between. So it's slow moving. I would so if I were to do it, so I know I keep bringing up Rockport and Gloucester, but they're basically, all one. They're not actually all one, but they're very close. So Rockport is more that slow moving. And this is the distinction I have with my clients or people who are coming to relocate to the area and they have to look at, they're looking at all of Cape Ann, they're looking at all the North Shore, but then they're looking at Gloucester, Rockport next to each other. And me and Amanda, my team lead, always have this. She's a Rockport girl and I'm a Gloucester girl. So it's always like people will be like, oh, like I love this one, you love that one. But Rockport's more slow. And I would say you would find a little bit of an older, kind of crowd there. And like, again, like it's a little bit slower. There's less restaurants, there's less hustle and bustle. Gloucester is actually a city, it's not just a town. So it has a little bit more stuff going on. It has like a pretty vibrant nightlife, I would say. You can go out, there's bars every single weekend. The bars are doing something. There's live music always playing everywhere you step inside, and it's all along like between one or two streets. So it's super nice to be able to bebop around, go grab a drink, listen to music, do that sort of thing. And even, like, sitting at the like, you could sit at a bar alone in Gloucester, and you're gonna make a friend with the person next to you because no one can keep to themselves, and they have to chat.
Yeah.
So if you wanna be alone, go somewhere else.
Is it the kind of place where you're gonna walk around, or are you driving around? Is there public transit that you're bopping around?
Yeah, so, I mean, if you live downtown, you can walk around. So Gloucester has, like, a bunch of different subset sections to it. So there's downtown Gloucester, West Gloucester, East Gloucester, and then you have Magnolia, and then you have Riverdale and Dogtown and Annisquam and
We live in
Lanesville and
Riverdale.
Bayview. I'm like right so I call myself no man's land because I'm right after Riverdale and right before Annisquam. And if I said that I lived in Annisquam, the people who actually live in the Annisquam village would tell
Would
me
be
I'm
mad
wrong.
about it. Yeah.
They would be a little mad. So I live in no man's land, but there's so many different subsets. So when you live like where I live, I have to drive to obviously go to the store and go,
Mm.
downtown to go to eat. But I did used to live on Main Street. It was the best few years of my life. That was like nothing else. You could just walk downstairs and go get food and right in the middle of town to go to any appointment. But you wouldn't find yourself walking to appointments, per se. And there is public transit, there's buses that will obviously take you around. There's CATA buses. They have their stops all through Gloucester and Rockport. So if you don't have a car, then you could get around. They're just not the busy, and they're not the busiest things either. Actually, you'll probably find maybe three people on them because it's a very everyone has a driveway. No one has garages here. They do, but very few. Everyone always comes from other states looking. We want a house with a two-car garage. I'm like, good luck finding it here. We're New England. We don't really have that many garages. We just let the snow build up on our car and use a leaf blower or something to get it off.
If money was no issue, where in your area would you live, and what kinda house would you live in? What's your dream?
You want to hear my dream home? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I sure do.
So, which is funny because I was just talking about this the other day, and I was like, because I always have wanted a house on the river. It's where we drive our boat down the river every single weekend. We're always on that river, and I was lucky enough that my brother's wife's family had a house that has a dock on the river. So I've gotten to like really get used to like laying on that dock and hanging out and spending time on the river. So to me, I would want a house on the river. I wouldn't mind if it was in the talk about it, I guess, Wheeler Street, Riverview area, of course, on the river, or Annisquam. We love Annisquam too, since we're so close to it. That's like where we walk our dog every day. But I think it would be on the river with, maybe a garage, but probably won't get that. Definitely won't get that on the river. But I was saying the other day too, I'm like, but now that I've had friends with pools, now I kinda want a pool too. Like, you
Yeah.
can't have both. You can't have both. I mean, it's basically impossible to find land around here now. You don't see lots for sale very often. You're not going to be, unless developers buy, one big lot and a lot of you're definitely seeing more development here with condos and such, but you're not seeing lots for sale. So you're looking at
Well,
buying an old
it's
home.
a very old city, right?
Yeah. What are we? 16? Oh gosh, I should know this. 1629, maybe it was
I
founded.
mean, like, more than 100 years older than our country. Like, of
Yeah.
course, there's no
Like
right? Like,
some exactly, yeah. I mean, you
yeah.
should
That's
see the
before a lot of
registry of deeds here. Forget about the registry of deeds when you're looking up a plot plan.
Oh, I'm
I
sure,
mean,
yeah.
like, survey, 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 survey. I don't know how many times I say that. Get a survey because you can, and then everyone, when they come through an open house, like, "Do you know exactly where the lot line is?" And I'm like, I wish, I could give you, I think it's from that telephone pole through these trees, back, hit the ledge, bang a right, something like that. But
right. Well, do you guys use, what is it, meets and what's it when it's like, so many paces from the telephone pole? There was a term we learned in real estate school. It's been a minute.
oh my God,
Well,
meets and
it's never been
bounds or something like
meets
that,
and
or
bounds.
Yeah, that's what it is, meets
meets
and
and
bounds.
bounds, links and bounds, or something like that. No, they might. I
No,
have no idea. I always thought about that when we took the exam too. I was like,
I was
is
like,
this
"Yeah, no one."
ever gonna come up? Ever?
No,
No,
no.
no,
not in my
but,
career so far.
So since it's such an old city, do you have a lot of, like, historic homes or, like, older homes that, like, people are rehabbing or stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah, you'll find there's a lot of older, there's some depending on the area, obviously. Like you'll find right near my house here, they all have that kind of colonial, like presidential kind of look to them. And then at the same time, right next door is a little cottage. There's a ton of little cottages here that people have then obviously built up and added on. And then you'll find in other areas, old Victorians with a ton of character and charm. I mean, some of the houses you go into, I'm selling a house actually right now in Magnolia, and it's a 1920 build and it's big house. It clearly was added on over time. It has this amazing millwork and just craftsmanship and stained glass windows. And then my client went on there and put a brand new kitchen in, but did it so tastefully that it blended everything in and then made updates. But the updates were made to also look sort of old, but everything's brand new in the house. It's absolutely immaculate. It's one of my favorite houses I've ever listed, and it has so much character and charm. So yeah, you definitely find a lot of the old charactery homes in here and lots of non-usable fireplaces.
Non-usable fireplaces.
You've mentioned a bunch of different areas. Can you give us some insight into, like, how far out you'll go? What are the towns that you'll cover?
Yeah, so I we covered the whole of the North Shore, and Cape Ann specifically is made up of Gloucester, Rockport, Ipswich, Essex, Manchester. And that's like I would say like Ipswich you could get as far as from like my house since it's old back roads and country style roads. It could take 40 minutes to get there, but it's like a nice 40-minute drive, not like a trafficy one. But I usually travel. I think the farthest I typically travel is about that 40 minutes, but between that being back roads and then highway is kind of different. So because I go up the line from Gloucester and Rockport to Peabody and Beverly and Salem and Marblehead and Nahant and Swampscott. So we kind of do it's the whole coastline of the North Shore, basically. So it depends on, I'll go anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes. But if you're talking around Gloucester, nothing's more than maybe 15 minutes away from one point of Gloucester to the other. Basically, any portion of Gloucester you're in to get to downtown is about, 7 to 10 minutes, I would say, unless the bridge is up. And then you're looking at 25 minutes.
Yeah, totally. What's your favorite town in your area that's not Gloucester? Like, where
That's
would you live?
not Gloucester. I think I like Beverly is, I think, my second choice. Um,
What do you
Gloucester
like
has the
about
mix in the field of, ocean and, you know, woodsy. Beverly is nice because it's more city-like, so it's got a little bit more, higher rise buildings and, I don't know what it is exactly that it's like so much about Beverly, but they have some really good like little pocket neighborhoods that just like I could raise a family here, you know? Like that's how you feel when you walk into them. But then you can also go downtown and you think you're, you know, some people like to call it like, oh, Beverly is the new Somerville, which is like a area right outside of Boston that isn't like inner city Boston. But I wouldn't per se say that myself, but like that's the kind of, I guess, feel that it's nice. It's like a little bit more city vibes than
This is making
here
me
because
wanna
it's more
go and
low.
take, like, a beautiful coastal drive. We gotta
It's
well,
the
we have to come
I make
visit.
every client do it. So, well, they'll, you know, when they come to you with a search and they're like, well, we don't really know where we're looking. And I'm like,
Yeah, you gotta
okay,
drive around.
let's define that then. You know, I can give you a whole tour of just one town, or we can do a whole tour of every town on along the coast, and you can figure out, okay, which one is it that I actually want to be in. Uh, that yeah,
So we're getting close to October and the fall season, and I know you live kind of close to Salem, Massachusetts. So like,
yeah.
yeah, what are your favorite like spooky season activities in the area?
My birthday was this past Saturday, and so once my
Oh,
birthday's
happy
over, it's
birthday.
thank you, but I won't let summer end until my birthday is over, and then once my birthday's
Okay.
over, it's fall mode for me now.
Sure.
So I'm
Totally
in
cool.
total, like, so ready for that. So we actually have another office in Marblehead, and to get to Marblehead, you have to go through Salem. So we don't go to the Marblehead office. We have one here obviously too, but we don't go to that Marblehead office during October. We
Oh, I'm
won't. We
sure.
won't touch it with a 10-foot pole because we can't, you know, it takes a 40-minute drive and turns it into an hour and 30-minute drive just to get to Marblehead, which is crazy. Um, but it's so much fun to like, I mean, everyone, if you come to Salem, you have to come see the Hocus Pocus house, obviously. My family from England came here, and that was like the number one thing. It wasn't October, obviously, but they were like, we have to go see the Hocus Pocus house. We have to go see the Witch Museum. Those are like, Salem has all you have to do is walk around Salem, and there's going to be something fun and spooky going on, even just looking at the people walking around. Everyone's dressed up. Some people are, you know, in costumes, and other people are just, you know, in their normal everyday clothes, and you're like, okay, you know, it's so funny walking down the street in Salem. You have a man in a, you know, business suit, and then a guy with, you know, a whole like spooky outfit going on, just walking next to each other along the road. And you're like, that's Salem. That literally explains it to a T.
I
I
love
love that.
that.
Is that how it is like all year though?
Yeah, no, not yes and no. So like there's definitely characters in Salem all year round. They reside there. And then there's obviously more intense during October. But we also do a lot of like apple picking. Like there's tons of orchards around here. You can find in Ipswich and Essex. Like we always go to the pumpkin patch and the orchard, and they have them open year, you know, all year round too. So if you wanted to go like picking in the summer, you can do that as well. There's always a fun activity. We always say that. My boyfriend Mike, he's from Reading and his family. So that's like 40 minutes from here. So it's like 20 minutes outside of Boston. So I don't necessarily service that neighborhood. You know, I would the more I become familiar with it, but
Mhm.
Sure.
they come here and they are like, there's always something going on. Like, what's up with this town? Like, we went to the beach and it was Christmas in July at the beach. Like, you take the
Fun.
boat out to the beach and it's Christmas in July. Like, well, there's just always something going on here, just in the North Shore as a whole. You know, I send out to my clients as much as possible of like the weekend happening because you'll never find a time that there's not something. It's a fair, or it's a, you know, uh, pumpkin decorating, or, you know, anything, a corn maze, at least this time, or at least at this time of year. But yeah, there's always something going on.
Now I wanna really go up during, like, spooky
We're
season.
gonna have
We're
to.
gonna have to.
Yeah, it's perfect.
A
Yeah,
couple
come
years ago,
visit.
we
Do like both times. Come in the summer, come on our boat, and then come in the October and go get spooky.
I love that.
Perfect.
Yeah, a couple of Halloweens ago, we got Winnie, our dog, a Winifred Sanderson costume,
Yeah.
and
I
so
love it.
we'll bring her up for spooky season and just walk around with Winnie. Everyone will love it.
Yeah, that and
Uh,
people do that. Like dogs are welcome a lot of places. I shouldn't say everywhere. But they are welcome. Like I'm walking around Salem, no shortage of people walking around with their dogs and stuff around Gloucester. Everyone's walking around with their dog, but there's only a couple places like with outdoor seating that you can actually bring your dog. Um, They actually did a pet show. We did a best in show the other day at one of the bars. They did a Saturday best in show. Bring your
I love
dog,
that.
and it's like I'm telling you, there's always something going on. It's a very fun town.
This has been awesome. I want to thank you again for coming on the show and telling us all about Gloucester and the surrounding area. Why don't you tell us where we can connect with you, where we can find you online, and remind us what market we're in?
Yes. Yes. So of course, I service the North Shore of Boston and then Cape Ann, and I'm particularly from Gloucester. And you can find me at Tori Flavin _ realtor on Instagram. And then we have our Amanda Armstrong Group website. So go take a peek there. You can see what we have listed. You can see little pictures of me too. And the rest of the team, we have an amazing team. There's four of us on the, well, five of us actually on the team. We have Amanda as the team lead, myself, team member Bella, team member Martha, and then Carling, who's like our project coordinator, but is also an agent on the team as well. So we have a solid team of women. We don't discriminate against men. They just haven't joined us yet. That's everyone always
There's
says,
still
like,
time.
do you have to be a pretty girl to join the team? Like, is that like a requirement? And like, I'm not, when I go to open
Like,
houses,
no, we
people are
just
saying
are.
this to me, and I'm like,
Right.
no, we just are, you know. But I'm like, but no,
Right.
we had a boy on the team once. It just didn't last that long, so we're back to an all girl team again. I don't know what to
That's
tell
like
you.
saying we have no straight men on our team, but we're not
Yeah,
discriminating against straight men. There just
It's
aren't
no,
just
any.
true.
exactly. There's just no one that
Just
sticks, you know.
happens to be. Anyway, thank you for joining us. I'm Aaron,
I'm Geoff.
and this has been the Relocation Rundown.
See you next time.
See you next time.